For biking enthusiasts, there are few areas in Delhi which are more picturesque, green, and suited for cycling than those around the Lodi Garden complex. Let me take up the story from around the Ashoka Hotel area in Chanakyapuri and lead you further from there to the Lodi Road. Before I introduce you to the Lodi complex, let me relate an interesting encounter with a wonderful lady I happened to meet close to the Lodi Garden. I was merrily cycling when I heard a voice calling me, and this is what happened.
Morning, ma'am.
You know, I have the similar Brompton.
Oh, how wonderful. First one I met in Delhi.
Yeah, that's why I stopped you. Because the first one I met in Delhi. Mine is exactly the same thing. Damn the same thing. Where did you get it?
From UK, ma'am.
Me too. I was so happy to see a Brompton here,
Alright, gupshup aside, let's commence this flight of rediscovery with an introduction to the Lodi Garden complex. You have already been introduced to Shahjahanabad, that was Nai Delhi or New Delhi in the 17th century, and Mehrauli, which then became Purani Delhi or Old Delhi. If one has to look at the maps of yore, the road that often ended up as the boundary between both these tehsils or administrative units, it was the present-day Lodi Road. In the past, it connected Ghiatpur, now called Nizamuddin, with Bagh-e-Jud, the earliest name of Lodi Gardens. This was subsequently called Lady Wellington Park, only to be renamed Lodi Garden after independence. Just as Lodi Garden sits between two former capitals, it also finds itself historically linking the two, that is, succeeding the slave dynasty and preceding the Mughals. The buildings in the area represent two major dynasties, the Sayyads and Lodis, with the former enjoying a short stint on the throne from 1414 to 1451 AD. Let me briefly describe four major monuments located within the complex to try and understand the place and its architecture better. There are no major and grandiose architectural creations of the Sayyad dynasty. This reinforces the importance of the tomb of Muhammad Shah Sayyad. This octagonal structure is constructed on a raised platform. It has a central dome with 8 smaller canopies or chhatris surrounding it, almost like the common people paying obeisance to the king or the planets around the sun. The main chamber has a series of graves with a courtyard outside, replicating the octagonal shape. The primary stone used for the monument is quartzite, which is extremely hard, unlike sandstone that has been used in part. Interestingly, the motifs and architecture indicates an Indo-Turkish influence with extensive use of the lotus and chhatris on one hand and of domes and arches on the other. Next, we move to the Bada Gumbad, probably called as such given the large size of its dome. This is representative of the Lodi dynasty, which ruled from 1451 to 1526 AD. This building has a thin horizontal wedge all around, which gives the illusion of a two-story building. However, it is in fact a single floor. Its height is accentuated by the high walls and a very large dome. The primary stone used is granite, which is interspersed with pink sandstone. A grey/black stone can be seen around the main entrance, breaking the monotony of the dull tones of granite. The structure seems more a gateway rather than a religious place, with an imposing disposition that dwarfs the structures in its vicinity. Bada Gumbad is flanked by a mosque and a pavilion on either side. The mosque has intricate carvings and adornments on its exterior and interior along the arches, walls, and dome. This subtle sophistication of the mosque differentiates it from most others one witnesses in Delhi, which, despite being bigger in size, are less adorned and exquisite in its ornamental value. Increasingly of late, it also seems to provide the ideal backdrop for children shooting videos, hoping to get on the TikTok bandwagon. Just ahead of this building complex is the Sheesh Gumbad. As the name suggests, it was adorned with lustrous blue turquoise tiles, a few of which are just about evident if one gives a closer look to the structure. This has a number of unmarked graves, presumably of people of eminence of that period. What it lacks in size and scale must have been more than made up by adornments centuries back, with its luster and shine under the daily gaze of Delhi's sunlight dazzling the casual observer. Let's move on to the fourth structure. The tomb of Sikandar Lodi is perhaps the most impressive amongst the lot. Unlike the others, it is enclosed within a high wall structure with an impressive entry gate and two chhatris at its forward end. The tomb itself is an octagonal structure with each side having three arches. A courtyard surrounds it and leads to the center of the structure, with the simple grave being its focal point. The arches inside have decorative work on the sides and provide a subdued elegance and timeless appeal to it. There are obvious similarities that this tomb has with that of Muhammad Shah Sayyad's tomb. One inclusion was in the form of chhatris around the dome, which are now conspicuous by their absence, though the telltale signs of his presence at some stage in history are evident from this drone footage. It is clear that the architecture of the monuments at Lodi Garden is neither as path-breaking as the Qutub Minar of the slave dynasty, nor as grandiose as the Red Fort of the Mughals. However, just like the link that it serves in the timeline of history, the structures also provide a continuum for two seemingly more relevant periods that are known for their contribution to Delhi's architecture.